what's up guys, Voan here today, and today I have two special Super Nintendo HD related products that we're gonna unbox today. So yeah, stick around. Thanks to the popularity of the NES Classic Edition last year, this year Nintendo is going all out with their plug-and-plays. Not just that, the Chinese people or the Chinese manufacturer overseas also do their own things with their own stuff, with their clones. So yeah, thanks to some of those, yeah, now we can play 20 of our favorite games in HD. Games like Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario RPGs, F-Zero, Star Fox, Final Fantasy III, Secret of Mana, Super Metroid, Kirby Superstar, Zelda Link to the Past, Donkey Kong Countries, Super Punch-Out!, Super Castlevania 4, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Contra 3 The Alien Wars, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Mega Man X, Earthbound, and finally Chrono Triggers. So 20 of our favorite games now, thanks to this new Chinese console with no name. We can finally play all of these with this thing. So yeah, let's put these aside and see how this thing looks. So if you can look at the box here, it says 8-bit and 16-bit HD 2-in-1 video game system, 8-bit plug controllers and 16-bit SN type pad controllers. Flashback to a bygone age. Yeah, it's kind of bygone, alright. It also has like 2 controller ports for each. So there's a 2 8-bit ports and 2 16-bit ports. And you can see that there's also like 2 controllers for that too. And yeah, the console looks very similar to an actual Super Nintendo actually. Kind of reminds me of my OFC twin a little bit, with a few additional features. We'll talk about that later, but yeah. Well, on the side here it is, and some information in the back. Pretty much everything the same information we used to see on all kinds of other clones. You can read that if you want. But yeah, there's something in bold down there that tells you how to clean your systems. And all these other stuff that are included inside this box here. So as you can tell, it has the console. It has the HDMI cable, 2 controllers, AC adapters, and AV cables. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. As you can tell, this box is pretty much kind of upbeat. Since I unboxed it before, so this is just me re-unboxing it for you guys. On the top here is pretty much the same as on the side. So yeah. As you can tell, it's a 2-in-1 system. It can play NES cartridges and Super Nintendo cartridges. So let's unbox this and see what's inside the box. So take this, open that, voila! Here is the package. And as you can tell, yeah, it's pretty typical. It has a similar molding design to that of a Super NES Junior. It does not have a name, so I don't know what to call this. Pretty much, if I should call it, I should call it the FC Twin HD. Because eventually, if you look at the back here, it does have a HDMI port, so you can play it on your modern TV, as well as the typical AV stuff. It has a power adapter here, plug for the power adapter, so yeah, it has these vent up here too, so similar to the Super NES Junior. Also, like the FC Twin, which is also using the Super NES Junior design. You have your typical Super Nintendo, Super Famicom cartridge slot, and your NES cartridge slots. So that's good. On the front, you have 2 Super Nintendo controller ports. On the side, you have 2 NES controller ports. Now, that's a major improvement over what I used to have with the FC Twin, because if you didn't know, the FC Twin only has support for Super Nintendo and nothing for the NES. Even though it has an NES cartridge slot, it does not support NES controllers or accessories. So that's a major improvement on this little clone here. Actually, yeah, it's actually a big improvement, because now you can play composite and use your light guns if you want to, or if you are not comfortable playing with Super Nintendo controller, you can use your NES controller. Fortunately though, I did test this while I was playing it. I got this since August, so I did test it a little bit, and yeah, you can only play Super Nintendo with the Super Nintendo ports, and the NES side with the NES ports, so NES controllers. So you can't use Super Nintendo to play NES like you will on the FC Twin anymore. So that's actually one minor difference between this and that. And yeah, it is great that you can play NES in HD and Super NES in HD. And there are no region lock this time, like the FC Twin back in the old days. If you look at the Super Nintendo cartridge slot, the FC Twin is pretty much similar to the Super Nintendo in that it has those 2 tabs that prevent you from playing Super Famicom cartridges. This, however, removes that. So another major plus. So yeah, that's pretty much good. On the back here, you have just a label of something about the powers and AC adapters and stuff. So yeah, not anything special, but it is, if you play these clone console with AV cables, getting HDMI with these are a step up, a major improvement. So I had to say, it's actually a well-designed system. It does have some very good compatibility. It does work with Castlevania 3 on the NES side, but I do have to say, even though it works, the audios is not good. So eventually, once I review this, I'll show that to you guys. Other things in the box includes this typical composite cable. So you get this with everything that you buy from AliExpress or those Chinese manufacturers. You also get 2 controllers. This is for the NES. So it looks similar to the controller that came with the Gamers Tech HD Famicom, NES HD, 8-bit HD. So yeah, this looks a lot like that, except with different color schemes and stuff. It does look very comfortable to hold. It's kinda reminds me a little bit of the dog bone, but without those bigger loops on the side. So it is kinda like flat, but comfortable. I do like the D-pad on how it has these dots instead of the arrows. It's pretty cool. I like the star and silhouette a little bit. B and A works okay. They still have those nice concave feel to it. Other than that, they also gives you this very unique and very kinda cheap looking Super Nintendo controller. I mean, it is kinda designed a little bit like a typical Super Nintendo controller, except that they don't have those curves, edges, and yeah, they have these things. Yeah, these curves around the controllers, pretty much on the upper side. They also have the roundish select start button like the other one, the other controller I just showed you. D-pad does not have the arrows, so yeah, it's still okay. It looks typically like a cheap D-pad, but it doesn't feel as stiff So, and I did try it with a lot of my games that I just threw to you guys a while ago. It works just fine. And it has the Super Famicom buttons over here, so you have your typical green, blue, yellow, red. It doesn't have those concave Y and X like what the Retrobit controller used to have, but that's pretty much okay. It doesn't bother me that much. It has, and the L and R buttons feels kinda, yeah, it feels okay. Not as tactile as the old controllers or the ones that were made by Retrobit, but they do work just fine. There's nothing on the back, and it has the OC QC pass labels. So this one does pass quality. I just don't know how the quality will last with these kind of controller though. So, and other things you get in there on the box here is an HDMI cable, which you can hook up to your HD TVs. You also get the typical power bricks. So yeah, it's unlike the Retrobit Hyperkin ones. It doesn't use micro USB, which is good because micro USB tend to suck sometimes because they usually do not work that well. So yeah, I like these better. I just kind of wish that they don't put this part on the power brick though. But that's still okay. Oh yeah, and one bonus thing they give you with this console is a Famicom converter. So yeah, even though the console does not have a cartridge slot for Famicom, they do give you a Famicom converter, so you can plug it in here and play Famicom games on it. So yeah, you got a good deal with this console here. So not only do they give you privilege for just those three systems, they give you an added bonus with the Famicom converter here. So yeah, this came free on the box here. So yeah, if you buy this console, you get the converter for free. That means that if you have any Famicom games like Rekkas and I don't know, Holy Divers and that Sentai game that I have, they work just fine on this. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much the first unboxing that I have for you guys. I don't know what this console is called, but it's a 2-in-1 console, so that's pretty much the name. On AliExpress they call it the Retro, so that's pretty much what I'm gonna call it later down when I review this thing. So yeah, let's go on to the next unboxing. Alright, so unboxing number 2. We have the one, the only Super Nintendo Classic Edition. Yeah, you didn't think that I went to get one, right? Fortunately, I never go out there, and this time I didn't go out there and get in line or stay up late to actually go to retail and get this thing. It's pretty much easier to get this time compared to the NES Classic Edition, so I decided that it's better to just better stay home and just order it online. I did not pre-order this though. I think it was one of the email I got from ThinkGeek. I purchased the Retron 5 from them like a few years ago, and they pretty much sent me notification about all the other stuff like bundles and shit. I did not purchase any bundle from them, but when they sent me notification about this thing, I immediately jump onto it. So fortunately it's not a bundle like all their other stuff, so that's one good thing that I like about it. And yeah, it's only up on their website for like 20 minutes I think. So I was one of the few people who actually did manage to purchase it, and it finally arrives. Fortunately, I haven't tested anything on this yet, so I don't know how it performs or how the game would do or anything, so it will take some time until I can review this, probably around the November time slot. So yeah, I'm probably gonna review that other clone before this one, but let's unbox this and see what's inside. You guys pretty much know what's on the back side and all that stuff, so we don't have to explain it. So yeah, so in the box here let's try to open this thing very gently. So yeah, that's a nice little sound. And as you can as you can see from how we gonna open this, it has that classic tagline, now you're playing with superpower. So yeah, like how I was as a kid, this is how I used to unbox things. Yeah, it's kind of like traveling back to 1990, except everything you see is smaller. We got these instruction booklets and posters, so that's pretty much okay, I guess. Yeah, these are the warranty, and this is that poster. So now you're playing with power, superpower, with all these super games. So yeah, I'll keep this poster in here though. I'm not going to put on the wall or anything, because the thing is, I have a lot of relatives with their kids coming over at my house most of the time, and if they see anything that looks like a nice poster on the wall, they're gonna rip it apart. So I don't want them to rip this one apart. I'll just leave it on the box like it should. Same thing for all the other stuff that will come with posters from now on. So here's all the stuff inside the box. You get your power adapters. Looks similar to that power adapter that came with the Nintendo NES Classic Editions. Here we have a Super Nintendo controller, one of the controller I think. So yeah, this is controller number 1. Feels very comfortable. Very yeah, feels just like how it was with the old controllers. We'll take a look at that and compare to the old ones in a while. But yeah, like I said, it came with 2, so this is the second one. I'll just leave the second one in there though. I don't want to ruin it. Eventually, once I start playing with it, then we can mess around with it. And other things you get inside the box is an HDMI cable and the thing that can power on the system. People will use this to hack the system as well. Now, I'm not gonna hack this system this year though. Fortunately, until Hack Chi improves, I might eventually do it. But for this year, I'll just leave this system factory quality the way it is. So all these hacking and stuff probably will come next year or so, because I still want to test all the stuff that are in here. And here it is. This is the one, the only Super Nintendo Classic Edition. Look how small it is. Very small actually. Front, you have these fake Super Nintendo controller slots. I think if you can open them, then you will reveal the hidden Wii slots. How do you open these things? Hopefully I don't wreck it by... You have to have fingernails to open these things. So yeah, I think if you open it from the side, it'll work. I don't get Nintendo. Why do they do this? I'll try to open it later. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, these are very hard to open unless you have fingernails, and my fingernails are start growing again. But yeah, these are the Wii controller slot. How do you get them down actually? Oh, there it is. Yeah, you can pull them down like that. Yeah, you actually do need fingernails to reveal these things. I still don't get why they couldn't just put these two out here. I mean, I know that they want to make it mimic the Super Nintendo as close as it can be, but opening these is a chore. if you don't have fingernails. But it is kind of cool though that they wanted to mimic the original Super Nintendo. Eject buttons is also a fake, so it's only there for show. You can't press it. Same thing for the cartridge slot, just like the original NES Classic Edition. You cannot do anything with the cartridge slot. Power and reset buttons, however, are there and they do work. Same thing for this. The side, the other side, the back side, you have the powers and you have the HDMI out. Nothing else. You also have these nice little vent. You have all the Nintendo information down here as well. And you got these labels. Made in China. Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing that is different about products nowadays compared to back then. Because back then, a lot of things are made in Japan or Mexico. Nowadays, everything came from China. I just hope that if I drop this, it doesn't go dead on me or anything. Anyways, let's compare the size of this thing. So here's the Super Nintendo Junior. Let's compare it to its other brother, the NES Classic Edition. So yeah, if you look at them, here's how it compares on the front, on the top, on the side, on the other side, on the back. Yeah, the NES Classic Edition is a little bit taller actually. So this Super Nintendo is actually smaller than its older brother there. But then let's compare it to their competitors, the Sega Genesis, the Act Game Sega Genesis. So here it is. Act Games is actually kind of taller too. But when you put it on the tallness stuff here, on the top, the Super Nintendo actually is kind of taller than that. On the side, I think the Sega is actually a little bit more buffer. But I do like that the Genesis is more simple, whereas this one, even though you can't use cartridge on it, putting controllers on that thing will kinda be a little bit of a chore to you. So yeah, that's pretty much the comparison between Super Nintendo Classic Edition to the Act Game Sega Genesis there. And if we can do other things to compare some with, here's a fake NES Classic, one of those cool baby family computer systems. Yeah, if you compare it to the NES Classic Edition, it's almost exactly the same. So yeah, if you compare it to the Super NES, it's actually kinda taller. And if you compare it to the Act Game Sega Genesis, yeah, Act Games is actually a little bit, well, almost in the front. The thing is that these two use the same controller ports, it's just that it's upside down. So the cool baby NES clone is, yeah, it's actually kinda okay there. They put the buttons and controller ports on opposite side from how the NES Classic Edition put them, and it does have the same thing that the Nintendo has. So it has that DC in that you can do. I don't know if you can hack this or not too, but yeah, and it also has HDMI out, so it's actually pretty cool. I'll review this sometime in the future too. So yeah, and that's pretty much the console that we have compared with. So NES Classic Editions, Act Game Sega Genesis. Eventually I'll try to get the flashback too once Act Game finish fixing that one. And the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. So this one is great. I'm really glad that I got it. Kind of brings you back to that old time of my childhood. And all those 20 games that I showed before, they are all in here.
Never ever buy those expensive cartridges again!
Except for Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is the only one that is not in here. And I don't own Kirby's Dream Course, so that's why I didn't throw in there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Fortunately, let's compare the controller though. This is the controller that came with the Super NES Classic Edition, as you can tell. Start select works okay. It has the convex B&A, kind of purplish, and the light purple concave YNX. And it also has the L and R buttons the way they have it. So let's compare to the original though. Here's an original Super Nintendo controller, as you can tell. It ends with the Super Nintendo socket here, and when you compare it, they look exactly identical from the buttons to the layout there. The only thing is that the Super NES Classic Edition's purple button here are kinda darker, and that's probably because that they are new compared to the old ones, where we have been playing these for a long time now. A lot of the things inside here might be like broken or anything or something. You can hear the rattles in here. That rattle is like classic now. And if you look at the back, yeah, it does have those model numbers. Same thing for this one. This one just said Nintendo, whereas this one says Super NES controllers. And if you look closely, it says made in Japan, whereas this new one is made in China. So yeah, so compared to the old controllers, it's quite kinda interesting. The other thing is that the old controllers, on the L and R buttons, it has them labeled, whereas on the new one, it actually has them engraved. So even though you don't see the letters quite accurately, they are there, and you can't erase them, compared to if you continue scratching these, then these two letters will disappear on the older one. Also, the wires are, the cable is kind of like loose now, so you can start seeing those wire inside. Yeah, this controller will one day fail, or will one day be defective. So right now it's still good though. The rattle already tells you that it's kind of outdated. But still good. But we're not done with the comparison yet though. We still have this one. And this controller, if you don't know, some people mistake this for a clone controller or a repro controller, but nope, this one is also a Super Nintendo controller. It has minor difference from the original. You can tell the Nintendo logo is here instead of the Super Nintendo logo, so that's pretty good. And like the new controller that came with the Super NES Classic Edition, the L and R buttons are actually more engraved rather than labeled. On the back, it says Nintendo controller, and it's made in China. So starting from 1998, that's when a lot of these products went to China, whereas the old controllers were from Japan. Now, that does not mean that the quality of these new controllers are kind of crappy compared to the old ones. They are good. It's just that they're made from different manufacturers, so sometimes the quality might be a little bit different. And here's the other comparison. This is my Nintendo Super Famicom Classic controller. So you can tell it has the end, the Wii remote end here, similar to the ones that came with the Super NES Classic Edition. It doesn't have that clear connector block thing that this one has. So basically you can still take this part off and use it on the Classic Edition as if it was a normal controller. I think in Japan they have these, but the only difference between this one these ones and these ones, though, even though they end with the same connector, is that on the back these ones says Wii on it, whereas these newer ones says Nintendo. And they're both made in China, so yeah, unlike the original, they're all made from China. So I do like the feel of this one a little bit better, but I like my Y and X as concave. So even though I enjoy this one, I still kind of prefer the button feel of these two. So yeah, that's the comparisons between the clones, the real systems, and the unboxing of these two Super Nintendo product here. So the Super NES Classic Edition, I'll have a review for you guys maybe next month, hopefully before Christmas. And for this one, maybe sometime next week or before Halloween, hopefully. So thank you for watching, and you guys have a splendid day.